Hello everyone. Till now we saw several aspects of fluid kinematics such as the conservation of mass principle. We applied the continuity equation, we derived the continuity equation and applied it for irrotational flows and saw the solutions of some or saw the concept of flow net using the stream functions as well as the velocity potential which can be used to solve the fluid flow problems. So till now we have seen the conservation of mass in a fluid flow. Okay, this we have seen, conservation of mass. So applying the conservation of mass to a control volume, what we got an equation del rho by del t plus del x of rho u plus del y of rho v plus del z of rho w equal to 0. So we can use this continuity equation and we can solve some problems directly only using the continuity equation itself. Okay, especially the flow situations where the flow is irrotational. However, along with the conservation of mass, forces are also acting on the fluid flows. Okay, so when we consider the forces that are acting on a fluid element, differential fluid element, that study is called as the fluid dynamics. When forces act on the fluid element, a fluid element is subjected to a state of stress. Okay, so when we consider those stresses also, then that study is called as the fluid dynamics. So in order to study the fluid dynamics, we have to apply the, what we'll have to apply? We'll have to apply the conservation of momentum principle. Conservation of momentum. Conservation of momentum principle means simply application of the Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. Okay, what does this law states? Newton's second law of motion states that the force acting on any particle in a particular direction is equal to what? Is equal to the rate of change of momentum of that particle in that direction. Okay, so this is the Newton's second law of motion. If we apply this Newton's second law of motion to your fluid flow, now we are generally using control volume approach. So if you apply it to a differential element or differential volume of fluid, you will get a conservation of momentum equation. Okay, so you will get momentum equation for fluid flows. Okay, so now as we have to consider forces, we will see what are the major forces that we might encounter in the civil engineering problems. So let us say the net force acting on a fluid element in, suppose say x direction. The net force acting on a fluid element, let's say there is a fluid element. Okay, a fluid element is there. This is the xyz. Okay, along the xyz direction you have a fluid element like this. Okay, now the net force acting on this fluid element, what will be the net force acting on this fluid element? The net force acting on this fluid element in x direction will be equal to the sum of all the forces. Okay, firstly we have to see what are the different forces acting on this fluid element in x direction. So one force is the gravity force Fg. Okay, in x direction. So component of the gravity force, then what force can act on the fluid element? Then there is a pressure force in x direction. Next you have what? Fluid has viscosity. Okay, now till now viscosity did not come into picture. Here also we need not care about the viscosity of the fluid. Why? Because there was no force acting on the fluid. However, when force is acting on a fluid, we know that for Newtonian fluid what happens? So if this is one fluid, this is one fluid layer. Okay, if you apply some force on a shear force on a fluid layer, what happens? You get a shear force. So this is this suppose area, okay, and you are applying some force, okay. This is the area of fluid, okay. Area of fluid in consideration. You apply some shear force on this fluid. What happens? You get a shear stress on this fluid. So shear stress is given by tau equal to mu into du by dy, okay. So what will be du by dy? It will be the velocity gradient between the two layers, okay. So this slope will be equal to the velocity gradient, change in velocity along this distance, okay. So you will also get shear stress, okay. So you will also get a shear stress when you consider some forces acting on the fluid element. This is on account of the viscosity of the fluid. Till now we did not consider viscosity also. So viscous force is another force that will come into picture, because all real fluids have viscosities, less or it may be less, it may be more, but every real fluid will have some amount of viscosity. Even air has viscosity, and it is very important. You see, when aeroplanes are flying in the air, still air is the viscosity of air is very less. Still there is a lot of skin friction drag acting on the plane. It's because of the boundary layer, because there is high amount of velocity gradient which gives rise to the shear stress, high amount of shear stress. So we have to consider this viscous forces also. These are important for us. And as far as kinematics is concerned, you can just study the flow of inviscid flows. All right. So fluids which do not have any viscosity, those are called potential flows. Okay. Ideal fluid, flow of ideal fluid. But in reality, viscous forces are also acting. So this is one of the forces. Then next, what force we might encounter is the force of turbulence, Ft, in x direction. You see, when you have a very high Reynolds number, what happens? The inertia is very large and viscous forces are very less, okay. So what you get is the turbulence, okay. So along with in laminar flows, what happens? So suppose there is a flow which is taking place. In laminar flow takes place in the form of one plane over the another plane. So only you will get viscous stresses if the flow is laminar. But if you have a turbulent flow, that means the Reynolds number is very high, inertia of the flow is very high. So fluid particles will cross their path. So fluid particle from this plane will enter this plane will enter this plane. There will be eddies, okay. There will be the formation of eddies. That is called as the turbulent eddies. And turbulent flow, you will also get some extra stresses. Those are called as turbulent stresses. So turbulent force due to turbulence. So these are the major forces that you may encounter. Now there are other forces also, like the surface tension force. But our problems in civil engineering are of the scale where they are at a larger dimensions are large, so surface tension forces are negligible in our problems. Then another force is the force due to compressibility. Compressibility forces are also not that significant for us, because they only come into picture for very high Mach number flows. Like they will be more important in aerodynamics, let us say, okay, like flow over airplanes, aircrafts, where Mach numbers are high. There the drag force becomes a function of Mach number also, okay. But for us, for civil engineering problems, most of the civil engineering applications, these are the major four forces, okay. So this is your gravity. This is your pressure. I'll just write gravity, pressure, viscous, and this is turbulence. Okay. Now see, if you consider all the forces, okay, if you consider all these four forces, then you will get an equation of motion. That equation is called as the Reynolds equation. Okay. if you consider all these forces, okay, and derive an equation, derive the momentum equation, apply the Newton's second law and get the momentum equation, you will get a Reynolds equation. If you neglect the force of turbulence, then what you will get? You will get the Navier-Stokes equation. Okay, so if you consider these forces only, okay, then you will get a Navier-Stokes equation. And finally, if you just consider two forces, gravity and pressure, then the equation that you will get is the Euler's equation. Okay, so these are the various equations of motions depending on the complexity of the problem. So if you assume that the flow has zero viscosity, flow is an inviscid flow, okay, then your viscous force will not come into picture, turbulence will not come into picture, so only force remaining is gravity and pressure. So if you derive that equation is the Euler's equation. If you consider along with this force, you consider that the flow, you consider that it has some viscosity mu, then the equation that you will get will be the Navier-Stokes equation. And if you derive considering the turbulence also, you will get the Reynolds equation. Okay, so these are the various momentum equations that we get in a fluid flow. Okay, now see, out of these forces, every force can be classified into a category called as a body force or a surface force. So if you have a gravity force, pressure force, viscous force, etc., these forces can be categorized as either body force or a surface force. So for example, gravity is a body force because it depends upon the mass of the fluid. Okay, so if you have a differential element here, the force will be acting over the entire body. Okay, so body force, so we have body forces and surface forces. So body forces act on the entire body of the fluid particle, while the surface forces acts on the surface. Acts on surface. Okay. For example, see, let's discuss some examples. Okay, so let's say we have a gravity, let's consider gravity force. Okay, so this is your differential fluid element. Okay, now if you consider the gravity force in, let's say, x direction, what will be that? Mass into acceleration due to gravity, mg. And suppose you want to consider in gravity force in x direction would be equal to mass into g, acceleration due to gravity in x direction, component of this force in x direction. Okay, so this is a body force. Gravity force is a body force, is acting on the entire mass. Okay, but however, another force, if you consider, let us say, pressure force. Okay, so let's say this is a fluid element. Okay, this is the x, y and z, okay, fluid element, and consider this surface. Suppose along the x direction, I am considering the surfaces along the x direction. Okay, so what is the pressure force, let us say, acting on the x direction? We know that pressure force acts normal to the surface. Okay, so this is the plane on which the pressure will act if we are considering the x direction. Okay, and this I will name that A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H. So pressure force will act on which planes? A, B, C, D and E, F, G, H if you consider the x direction. So here is one force normal to the A, B, C, D. This is P, suppose. This is the pressure force. It will act on the area. So this is the pressure, and what will be the force? Pressure into area. So if this area is dA, so P into dA is the pressure force. this is a surface force, okay, because it is acting on the surface. Here on this surface it is acting normally. So this will be, if pressure is changing along the x direction, what we can get? What we can write? P plus del P by del x into dx, okay. If this is dx, suppose, okay, into dA, okay. So this will be your pressure forces acting on surface in the x direction. So these are surface forces. Pressure force is a surface force. Viscous force will also act like this, tangential to the surface. This will be the tau, okay. On this plane, because of this motion, suppose there is a motion, then on this plane we will get some viscous stress. So viscous force will be also acting on the surface, but it will act tangentially to the surface. Pressure is acting normally to the surface, but both forces are surface forces, okay. So in this way, so force can be a body force also, it can be a surface force also. What are the examples of surface forces? Viscous force is a surface force, pressure force is a surface force, okay. Now see, we will discuss the state of stress. See, when force is acting on a differential fluid element, the fluid element is subjected to a state of stress, okay. So that we'll try to see first. We'll not derive, but we'll just see how the fluid element goes into a state of stress, okay. So let us say some force component is acting on the surface, okay. So this is the surface, suppose, okay. This is the fluid surface, suppose, okay. If there is some force component like this, okay, force component delta F, okay. So it will the resultant of this, what will happen because of this force component? So this force component can be resolved into three components, x, y and z, as far as the Cartesian coordinates are concerned, x, y and z, okay. So you will get three components. So this will be the normal component and these two will be the, so this force element will exert a normal component of force on this small surface ds, okay. This is a small surface, it will exert a normal component also and two tangential components also, okay. So every surface is subjected to normal component and tangential components, okay, because of any force acting on this surface. So because of that, the state of stress becomes something like this. Okay, now I have considered three planes, okay. This is the x, y and z directions. X, y and z directions, okay. I have considered three planes, mutually perpendicular planes, Cartesian planes, okay. This plane is a plane to which the x axis is a normal. So along this plane, if you draw a unit normal to this plane, that will be nothing but the x axis. On this top plane, if you draw a unit normal, it will be the y axis. On this side plane, if you draw a unit normal, it will be the z axis. Okay, why I have drawn three planes? Because if you have a point, then the point can be completely described by three planes. Okay, so that's why now on this plane to which the x-axis is normal, this plane will be subjected to three components of stress. So one will be sigma xx, second will be tau x y, third will be tau x z. How I have written this, see, by two subscripts 1 and 2. Okay, first subscript denotes the direction of the normal on that plane. So if this is the plane and what is the normal direction to this plane, this is x, so first subscript will be x and second is the direction of the force itself. Okay, so first subscript is related to the surface on which the stress component is acting, second subscript is related to the direction of the force. Okay, so now here the look at the tangential elements, two tangential components, one is tau x because it is acting on this plane and y is because it is acting along the y direction. So these are the two tangential components and one normal component on this plane to which x axis is normal. Another plane is this top plane to which the y axis is normal. So what will be the normal component here? It will be sigma y. Then again two tangential components, this will be tau y x and again this will be tau y z. Okay, similarly on this plane to which the z axis is normal, one will be sigma z z, second will be tau z x and third will be tau z y. Okay, so in this way the entire fluid element can be represented in the state of stress can be represented for this entire fluid element. So this the stress of a fluid element is a tensor quantity. So this is a tensor representation of stress. You can also write the stress as, so the 9 components of stress tensor. How you can write the stress tensor? This is sigma xx, tau xy, tau xz. This is tau yx, sigma yy, tau yz. Again we have tau zx, tau zy and sigma zz. Okay, in this way you can represent the stress tensor. Okay, so whenever a system of forces act on a fluid element, it will be under a state of stress called as the stress tensor. So in this way stresses would look like. Okay, now while deriving the equations of motion you have to consider all these stresses. Okay, fine. Sigma represents the normal direction, so I have used the symbol sigma, and tau is for tangential component, sigma is for normal component. Okay, so this is all about the state of stress. Now after knowing the state of stress etc., type of forces etc., we will try to go for the first equation of motion, that is the Euler's equation. Euler's equation of motion. Okay, so to derive the Euler's equation of motion, we will derive it for a steady flow. Okay, so let's consider a steady flow and consider some streamline. Okay, so I will consider one element of fluid okay, I will consider one cylindrical element of fluid here. Okay, and this element is flowing along this streamline. This is streamline, direction is x. So along a streamline you consider a cylindrical element of fluid. Okay, so the length of the cylindrical element is, suppose, let's say ds. Okay, and area, cross sectional area is, suppose cross sectional area is dA. Now For derivation of the Euler's equation of motion, for Euler's equation, what forces we should consider? First is the gravity force. Okay, gravity force. So let's see what is the gravity force here acting. Now gravity force is a body force. It will act like this on the body of this cylindrical element. It will be m into g. Okay, and let us say this angle is suppose theta. Okay, this angle is, let us say, suppose theta. What will happen? This gravity force will be, so what will be the gravity force component along x direction? Okay, what will be that along x direction? Okay, so that will be m into g in s direction. So it will be mass into acceleration due to gravity. So what is mass of this element, cylindrical element? It will be rho into dA into ds. Okay, into g. And component in s direction is cos theta. Okay, so this is the force acting along the s direction. We are only now writing the forces acting along the s direction. Okay, so rho g dA ds cos theta, this will be the gravity force component. Okay, along s direction. Second is the pressure force. So pressure forces will be acting on two planes because pressure is a surface force. So they will act on two surfaces. One is this surface, okay, normal to the surface. So this is P into dA because dA is the area, cross-sectional area. So pressure forces will be P into dA, and secondly pressure force will also act on this. It will be how much? P plus del P by del S into ds multiplied by dA. Okay, because here how much will be the pressure here plus total change in pressure along this ds into dA. Okay, so what will be the total change in pressure along this ds? It will be rate of change of pressure with ds multiplied by ds. Okay, and into ds. So these are the forces acting on this cylindrical element along this direction of around the streamline. Okay, along the s direction. Now according to Newton's second law of motion, what does it say? Force, or we can say net force acting in s direction will be equal to what? According to Newton's second law of motion, net force acting in the s direction is equal to what? Rate of change of momentum in s direction. Okay, so rate of change of momentum in s direction is what? M into v2 minus m into v1, okay, divided by time. Now here we are considering this fixed cylindrical element. So we have m upon t v2 minus v1. So v2 minus v1 upon t is nothing but a. So m into a, mass into acceleration in s direction. Okay, v2 and v1 are the velocities along the s direction. So net force acting, so Fs, okay, net force acting in the s direction will be mass into acceleration in s direction. Okay, this is according to the Newton's law of motion, second law of motion. Now we know what are the forces acting. Okay, so just find the net force here. So we will just replace this net force. So take this direction as positive. So what forces we have along this s direction? P dA. What forces we have? Therefore we have P dA plus, sorry, it will be minus because it is in the opposite direction. So it will be minus P plus del P by del S into ds into dA. Okay, again this component of gravity component, it will be minus rho g ds dA cos theta. Okay, equal to m into a, m a s. Okay, acceleration. Now we will try to simplify this. PdA will get cancelled. Finally we what will be remaining? Minus del p by del s into ds into dA. Okay, and here what will be remaining? Minus rho g ds dA cos theta. Okay, equal to m into, now what is m? M is the mass of this cylindrical element. It will be mass density into volume. So mass density is rho, volume is ds into dA. Cross sectional area into the length will give you the volume of the cylinder. So into A into AS. We will talk about the acceleration later. So first you just simplify the equation. Now I can cancel ds into dA from both the sides. We will be remaining with minus del p by del s minus rho g cos theta equal to rho AS. Okay, this is your equation. Now we will try to think about the acceleration. So what would be the acceleration along this S direction? Okay, what would be the acceleration? In the fluid kinematics we have seen and derived the expression for acceleration. So total acceleration AS would be how much? Total acceleration is dv by dt. This d represents the total acceleration. That will be del t plus v del s. Okay, so what will be the total acceleration? First will be the temporal acceleration del t. This is the temporal component and this is the spatial component. Okay, now here we are only considering one axis or one direction, so there will be only one direction, del s. Okay, therefore so what will be the final expression for acceleration? It will be, just put this operator on v. So this will be the acceleration. Now it's a steady flow, so your del v by del t term should become 0. Why? Because it's a steady flow, so velocity will not change with respect to time. So only convective acceleration is present in this flow. Therefore AS will be equal to v del v by del s. So only convective acceleration is present in this flow. Now just put this value of acceleration in the equation which we have derived. So we are getting minus del p by del s minus rho g cos theta equal to rho into v into del v by del s. This we are getting. Okay, now cos theta we can replace. Okay, cos theta we can replace by, see, if this is theta, this was your ds, so this will be the dz, change in the elevation dz. So cos theta will be dz by ds. So you can replace, therefore minus del p by del s minus rho g dz by ds del z by del s, you can write equal to rho v del v by del s. Okay, so now multiplying by del s you get, therefore we have minus del p minus rho g del z equal to rho v del v. Okay, now divide by rho. Let's see what we get if we divide it by rho. So we have minus del p by rho minus g del z, dividing by rho we get g del z minus v del v equal to 0. Okay, so this equation we are getting. So multiplying by minus 1 we get del p by rho plus g del Z plus V del V equal to 0. Okay, so this is your Euler's equation of motion. Okay, here we have considered the pressure force and the gravity force. Okay, so if you have only a pressure force and gravity force, so flow is having zero viscosity and flow is steady, then you can apply this equation only along the streamline. Okay. Now, if we integrate this equation, we get a very useful relations for fluid flows. If you integrate this equation, what you would get? Integrating both sides, we get integral of del P by rho plus integral of G dz plus integral of or del Z or integral of V del V equal to integral of 0 is constant. Okay, so 0 is 0, so the constants from here will go there, and so you will get a constant on the right hand side. Okay, so if you have an incompressible flow, for incompressible flow rho is constant. Okay, so if your flow is incompressible, you can take this rho outside, so 1 by rho integral of del P is P plus G is a constant, integral of del Z is Z plus integral of V will be V square by 2 equal to constant. Okay, now divided by G, if we divided by G, what we get? P by rho G plus Z plus V square by 2G equal to constant. Okay, so this is your Bernoulli's equation. This is your Bernoulli's equation. The spelling might be wrong. I can't remember the correct spelling of Bernoulli. So this is your Bernoulli's equation. Now what is the significance of this equation? What does this equation signify? See, what does this equation is quite important, and we are going to use it many times. So we should think about this Bernoulli's equation. It says that it is what? Z plus P by rho G plus V square by 2G equal to constant along a streamline. What are the assumptions for applying Bernoulli's equation? Flow is steady, flow is incompressible, flow is irrotational. Okay. Now the Z is nothing but Z is what? The datum head. It is called as the datum head. Basically these three terms represents these three different type of energy heads. Okay, Z represents the potential energy head or datum head, P by rho G represents the pressure head, hydrostatic pressure head, and V square by 2G represents the velocity head or kinetic energy head. Okay, and the sum of all the three pressure heads will be always constant. So that is what the Bernoulli's equation states. So energy remains constant along a streamline. Now the Z is what? Potential energy per unit weight of the fluid. Actually energy head means energies per unit weight of the fluid. So what is your potential energy? Potential energy will be mg, that is the gravitational force, into Z. So if you have some object of mass m, okay, at here, and you lift it here along Z. So what is the work done? What is the potential energy stored in this object? M into G into H. Force acting is mg and displacement is Z. So this is the potential energy stored in this body. So